Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and over the last few days I have been talking to a bunch of different dealers on what happened in the month of November and basically the cars that they were selling and the cars that they weren't selling, and I was frankly shocked at what I heard. But before getting this video, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more content just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post these videos every single day. Let's get into it. Now, I do need to give a quick recap on a video that I just posted talking about the sales month of November. If you want a deeper dive into the month, then just go watch that video. But in the video, I basically talked about how the month was pretty slow throughout. There was a little bit of a push during Black Friday and a little bit after for dealers. But for the most part, they just sold fewer cars and they made less profit per car. So on the car itself, accessories associated with the car, and then also on warranties and other service contracts that can be sold on a car as well. And so volume was down and profits were down for the month of November. So with the massive decline in used car prices and used car demand over the last few months, I expected to see something similar happen in November. And while used car prices did decrease over the course of the month of November, demand didn't exactly decrease, and this is what is really perplexing. What a lot of dealers told me is that they sold more used cars during the month of November, and they actually sold fewer new cars, which is the exact opposite of what I expected to see, because we're finally starting to see incentives on new vehicles where manufacturers are offering, 0% APR in some cases. A lot of dealers are selling new cars finally under MSRP and sometimes even under invoice. And you can get a better interest rate on a new car versus a used car. And so there's a lot of reasons to purchase a new car right now instead of a used car, especially since used cars are still overvalued. But for some reason, people are still buying used cars. The more I dug into the situation, the more it started to kind of make sense. So the vehicles that people are going after, they can't really get brand new because they're typically sold out, or they still have market adjustments on them and dealers just aren't coming down. It's a weird situation where the cars that you can get a good deal on, people don't really want to buy, but the cars that you can't get a good deal on, people do want to buy it. I guess it's a situation of you want what you can't have. And so this is pushing people from the new car market over into the used car market. Now, like I said, used car prices are still pretty inflated. But when you have a buyer that is dead set on a particular car, they're going to be willing to pay, a price premium in the used car market to get that car. But that doesn't fully explain the buyers that are not paying the price premiums on new cars, but they're paying them on used cars. And what I'm seeing is that dealers are actually more willing to work with customers on some of these used cars, especially if they got it recently, than on the new cars. Dealers on the new cars, if it's a product that is a little bit rarer, a little bit more difficult to get, they're just like, this is the price. If you want this brand new, you're going to have to pay this. Whereas if they have that car used, they're like, okay, well, used car values are dropping every single week. Dealers see it just like all of us. And so they're like, okay, we will negotiate with this, especially if, again, they just recently got the car, so they bought it for significantly less than their inventory that they purchased several months ago. And so it's creating a really weird dynamic, but ultimately this dynamic has led to more used car sales and fewer new car sales. So what this really means for the market overall is that you're going to see an even bigger schism between certain car categories, where there are certain vehicles that are continuing to decline in value at a rapid rate, and there are other vehicles that are still declining in value because the overall market's coming down, because again, interest rates are really high, affordability is really low, and there are just less people in the car market overall. But they're declining at a much slower rate because you have enough people going in and buying those cars to basically put some upward pressure on certain segments within the market. And so that's why I say there's going to be a schism, because there are going to be some cars that are basically going to hit their bottom far sooner than other car categories. And so it's going to be even more difficult to gauge when the best possible buying time is for a used car. But that's not the entire story. Another part of the story is the fact that there are enough buyers that aren't educated with what's currently happening to make what I would consider just a bad purchase decision. So there are enough people out there that do not like follow anything in the car world, so they don't know that we have a situation where car values are tanking a massive amount. I know that people watch these videos and they'll think that the things that I'm saying are common sense, but we have to understand, like I've said several times, is that common sense ain't all that common anymore. And so if you're watching these videos, you're pretty much in like a niche audience that actually cares about what's happening in the car world. The rest of the world isn't really paying as much attention. And so you have people that are going into dealers and they're going in with the mentality of someone from like maybe 3 to 5 years ago, where if you buy a new car, you're going to have to spend more money on it and it's going to depreciate a massive amount. But if you buy a used car, it's already going to be slightly depreciated and it's going to be less money, even though that still isn't the case with a lot of cars where you literally have to pay more money to buy a used car versus what you could pay for it brand new. These people just don't know. Again, it's like they are trapped in like pre-2019. It is absolutely insane. And so that's another factor that is actually causing this like weird situation where we have people willing to pay for these used cars, like willing to pay these crazy premiums on these used cars. How can you use this information to practically help you out as a car buyer? First off, don't be the people that are stuck in like pre-2019. Look at both the used car market and the new car market with whatever you're purchasing and compare the prices. Like, this is something that not enough people do, because some people just assume that they'll only ever be able to afford a used car because new car prices are just too expensive. And there are some people that'll only buy a new car because they're like, I gotta have it brand new. And it's like, okay, well, to the person that thinks they can only afford a used car values are still super high, and in a lot of cases, used cars are still as expensive as new cars. So if you can afford that used car, you can afford the new version of it. And then the people that only want to buy new, well, sometimes there are used cars on the market that have just a few miles on them that are used, but in reality, they're not really used because they have so few miles that they're basically brand new, and you might be able to save yourself a little bit of money, which is right, the depreciation of the new car versus the used car. So look at both markets, compare the prices with both cars. And if it's a situation where the used car is as expensive as the new car, right, it's going to be your call at the end of the day. But I'm the type of person that is going to go for the new car because, well, if I'm paying the same amount of money, I don't want to buy someone else's dirty laundry. I want to get something that is mine, that is new, right, that has a full warranty on it. Now, if there's a big price difference between the new and the used, then that's where, you have to then decide for yourself, hey, do I really want the new car, or am I willing to, again, take someone's dirty laundry? And it's not always that bad because, like I said, there are a lot of cars on the market that are used that have like no miles on them. And so then it might make more sense to go that route. But like I've said over the last few months, the used car market is still declining at a rapid rate. And this is not what's happening with the new car market. So with new car prices, they're pretty much where they're going to be for the next few months and throughout the next year. I actually see new car prices increasing throughout next year because this is what all the manufacturers are saying, whereas used car prices are going to continue to decline. And so again, I would just basically do a price watch with that used car that you're looking into. If you've decided that used is the route for you to go, and you'll just see the prices just slowly continue to come down. And again, you're never really going to be able to guess the quote unquote market bottom because it's easier to guess in the auto world versus the stock world, but it's still near impossible. But you'll at least be able to get a much better deal on that car sometime in the future compared to today with how much those cars are losing value. Now that's pretty much going to sum things up for today's video. And I guess the big lesson from today's video is don't be that person that's stuck in like pre-2019 because yeah, it's absolutely insane to me that people don't look at both the new car market and the used car market. I mean, I understand the reasons as to why people do that, but it's just like crazy the deals that people pass up both new and used because they're only looking at one market. Like whenever I personally search for cars, I always look at both markets. Now, over the last like couple of years, it's pretty much always made sense to buy new because of how overinflated the used car market has been. But I'm guessing in the next, 6 to 12 months, I might end up buying some used cars for the main channel because we're finally going to get normal depreciation. And so it'll potentially make more sense for me to buy used cars versus new cars with where values will be. So again, just Don't be that person that doesn't look at both markets. Always, always, always look at both markets so that you can get the best possible price on a vehicle. I'll see you guys.